College football fans, here we go. Another version of the Boston and Sauce Show coming at you right now.
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show, y'all. It's college football, man. It's days away. My energy level's all the way up, man. I'm so excited. I'm right here today with my man, BigRagoo. What's up, BigRagoo?
Hey, big man. It's the ACC time. And we used to call it almost a conference, but you know, ACC, you know me. We're going to break it down, me and you. We're going to preview the teams in the conference. We're going to talk about who's hot, who's not. And we're going to give these people some knowledge they're going to need to handicap these games and cash some tickets.
Yep, and guess what? You don't even need to pull out your pen and pad because these videos are going to be up online all year. You come back to them and revert to some of the stuff that we say. Today, we're gonna definitely make sure we let y'all know what's going on with each team's coaching situations, how many returners they got coming back, what they did last year, and what we think they're going to do this year. So, if y'all ready, go ahead, click on your seatbelts, put in your headphones, because we're about to take a ride on the Boss and the Sauce Show with the ACC College Football Preview right now. Oh, yeah. Right back at you, the Boss and the Sauce Show, breaking down another team right here in the ACC. This time, we're going after Boston College. Now, Coach Steve Adizio over there, he's getting back 5 on offense, 4 on defense. His 5 on offense is wonderful, though. He's getting back a running back, a wide receiver, and a quarterback. And that running back is A.J. Dillon, who's definitely NFL bound. But on defense, he's only getting the 4 back. He's getting back a nose tackle, 2 linebackers, and a cornerback. So they need a lot of help on defense. The defensive line has totally diminished. And this is a team that was 7-5 last year, coming in this year. And I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do this year so far. What's your take on this so far, BigRagoo?
Yeah, Boston College is definitely going to pick up the pieces from last year. A quick start for them with the quarterback Brown and Dillon. You know, had a lot of steam early. He said something about we talked about off camera that their passing game was pretty stout and just kind of fizzled out last year. The thing they have to worry about though for sure is they did lose some offensive linemen in the draft, and they have a new OC coming in as a former quarterbacks coach from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple years back. So they're probably going to be in revamp mode. They do have the key pieces in place, though, with Dillon and Brown at quarterback and Kobe White as a wide receiver. They do like to run heavy tight end sets. So, they usually recruit pretty well at the tight end. So maybe that'll help out the line, with some of the running game. But I think they're going to regress a little bit. Last year, they finished up 7-5, 4-4 in the conference. This year, they got them pegged at 6-6 and 3-5. So maybe a little bit lighter in the W column. But overall, they'll compete, but I don't think they'll be as potent as they were last year.
Well, the way I see it, with the schedule that's going on right now, they come out playing Virginia Tech, should be a tough game for them. But then they play Richmond, Kansas, Rutgers, and Wake Forest, and Louisville, all which could be programs that are on the down end this year. But they will get bust up at the end of the season where they have to see NC State, Clemson at Clemson, Syracuse at Syracuse, turn around and see Florida State, Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and finish at Pittsburgh. That's a definitely horrifying back-to-back lineup, and I don't see them getting back to 7 wins having to do that. If they slip and lose 2 at the beginning, they're bound to have a bad season on this one. But I do hope A.J. Dillon the best. He is a great runner, and I hope they do open up early with the pass, and I catch a couple overs on Boston College. What do you have to say about Boston College, BigRagoo?
Yeah, more of the same, basically. I see a little regression there, and hopefully they do give him a little bit of blocking because, Brown's a decent quarterback. He's nothing fancy, but they're going to be heavy run dependent on Dillon, and hopefully he can stay healthy. If not, they're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. They're going to have to come up with some alternate schemes and plays to generate offense. But they're a well coached team. Adagio, he's a former assistant, in Florida. He's been up there, like you said, for 6 years, going 7 years. So he's knowledgeable. He recruits well. He's from the New England area. He knows the talent up in that area, and he usually, he'll put a competitive product on the field. Just how good it is going to be good enough to get into a bowl game, we'll find out at the end of the season.
Well, there it is there. You heard it first right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Although we had a few technical difficulties, my man BigRagoo's bouncing in and out on us. It's all good. We right here, Boss and the Sauce Show. We're going to keep this show rolling. Let's go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Coach Dabo Swinney over here at Clemson. They're on the clock right now. Now, Coach Dabo Swinney, he's been building this team for a long time, and it's really coming together for him. He's coming off a 15-0 championship year, and he goes into this year with 7 coming back on offense and 4 coming back on defense. And definitely, Trevor Lawrence is coming back this year, and we're excited to see what's going to come out of this kid. Now, they did also got a newcomer wide receiver, Jeffrey Joseph Nagata. He's coming out of California, 6'4", 215, and he's ready right away. He's ready to hit the field. So they're going to add that to their quarterback, running back, wide receiver, left guard, center, right guard, and tackle that's coming back. So you got a full line, a running back, a wide receiver, and a freshman wide receiver that's ready to go. They should run the scoreboard up as usual. But this team really has a issue with me with the scheduling that they have, and we'll talk about that a little later. But let y'all get a little input from my man, BigRagoo.
Hey, all right, Clemson. Clemson lost a lot of talent in the draft, as we know. Like the top 20 drafts, probably half of them were Clemson players. But they definitely had some key losses last year as far as the talent goes. But a couple of guys you want to look for this year that are making some transition. There's a kid that played wideout and then moved into the defensive side of the ball. His name's Darion Kendrick. He's only a sophomore, but the coaches are really talking how talented this kid and how he made the adjustment to the position. So look for him. His number is number 1. He's a cornerback. And another kid, Justin Ross, wide receiver. They're saying he's a man among boys. So he's a super talented kid. And they get back Eddie in and running back and Lawrence. He's going to make his run for the Heisman this year without a doubt, coming back for his sophomore season. And they just seem like it's a team. We know that they beat Alabama last year in the championship, but it's a team that's kind of a step and a half above everybody else. They're that good. This team is. They just seem like everything. They're moving on all cylinders. And looking at their schedule, they open up at Georgia Tech. Then they got to play home against Texas A&M, second game. Then they move out to Syracuse, third game. So it's looking at their schedule. They could have a couple of trip ups in there possibly, but it's going to take something special to beat this team. They're super talented, well coached, and they recruit very well. We all know that, and I think they probably wind up coming out on top in that division just because of how far they widen the gap at this point in time. It's going to take teams a long time to catch up with this team in that division.
Did y'all hear that right there? This guy out of Florida, just as smooth as a cucumber, going over this one. And right here, I don't see no way they could goop this up with this cupcake schedule they got coming out against Georgia Tech, who's opening up to a spread offense from the triple option. That could be an easy win. Texas A&M may be their toughest test for the whole year. And with the personnel that they have, they outclass them. They could automatically just beat them, although it may be a lot of this and that about Texas A&M. When they lay the X's and O's, you size them up. This team probably blows past Texas A&M. Then they got to see Syracuse at Syracuse. This might be the spot that they may be able to get beat because Syracuse kind of put it on them for a half last year, and they might be coming back at home to try to do that again. But after that, they got Charlotte, North Carolina. The jury's still out on Florida State, even though BigRagoo has his Florida State hat on today. And the jury's out on Louisville big time. That's probably pointing down. We just went over Boston College not that long ago. They 7-5 season look like it's going to be pointing down. And then for homecoming, and BigRagoo says okay because it's homecoming, they want to play Wofford. They shouldn't even have Wofford on their schedule. Go play Coastal Carolina. Go play somebody that's in the same divisions as you or something. And then they go with NC State, Wake Forest, and South Carolina. How could you mess that up with NFL potential players sitting on your roster? Sweeney, if you mess this one up, yes, you're going down, buddy. But any last words on this Clemson team for you, BigRagoo?
Man, I mean, if you just sit here and you analyze, the past seasons and the upcoming season, I mean, just looking at the stats and what they've accomplished, they're basically in the top 10 as far as efficiency on offense and defense, explosiveness, finishing drives, adjusted turnover margins. I mean, everything is like top 10, 1, 2, 5, 4. The only thing that it's kind of odd, the only thing that they had any kind of struggles with was field position on offense, starting field position. But guess what? When you got all this talent on the field, I guess you can start on the 1 yard line and go 99 yards and score in about 2 minutes. It really don't matter where you start on the field.
Hey, that's how we used to do it when we used to play touch football on the streets. Instead of the kickoff, we take it on the 1 and go all the way down. That's how we do it. But, yeah, they was averaging 527 yards on offense, giving up 285.9 yards on defense. Even if the defense gives up 320 yards per game, the offense is probably going to be well at 600 yards a game. And the Clemson Tigers will have a good season despite any haters or all the Alabama fans who's against them. These guys got to set it up to have a lot of fun and win a lot of games. And that's our take on Clemson.
All right. We got the tomahawk chop going on, guys. This is my team down in Florida, Florida State. As much as I hate to talk about them, I'm going to have to do it. But I love the team, so I'm going to break it down, not just for my personal reasons, but to share the knowledge to you guys. So, DJ, let's start with the FSU Seminoles. Let's talk about the coach, Willie Taggart. Taggart is in his second year, and you want to talk about somebody's ass that was in a hot seat late in the season. I got to say it was his, not only because of the fact that, usually you get a 3-year deal when they bring you in, but they were so bad, they couldn't block, they couldn't run assignments. So, and you're always going to say that, they're not their personnel, but he left some disappointments out there basically because nothing changed throughout the whole season. They had some games where they had negative yardage, but there's a lot of room for improvement on this squad for sure. They did lose some key components on the offense in the draft. They lost Brian Burns, who led the team with 10 sacks last year. Francois, he's transferred down to FAU, the quarterback. He's out. So now that leaves a quarterback battle for Blackman. It's his job to lose, and they have a quarterback transferred from Wisconsin, Alex Hornibrook. So he's going to be competing for that job also. Now the bright point of the team is their defense. They've got 8 returning tacklers coming back, so that's something they can build on. And the thing with Florida State, if you looked at them the way they played last year, they were involved in a lot of the games early. And just, because of the lack of offensive production, they were, them defense, they just wore out. By the time the third quarter came around, they were just flat wore out. So, and especially against the big teams, they got a lot of blowouts for them. So I look for them to really improve this year. Second year out for Taggart. And I look for good things for FSU. I don't think they're probably because Clemson is sitting right on top of them, but I think FSU will definitely make some improvements this year, and I'm going to be real optimistic about it. What about you? What do you think about this team?
Well, this team right here, BigRagoo, they sitting on shaky ground, but with a 5-7 record from last year and the legacy of a team like Florida State, they don't have nothing but optimism and looking up in this one. And I definitely like Cam Akers coming back to run the ball, some of that speed, and like you say, Willie Taggart, second year on this one. Second year can be a good year for some coaches. If they can get their system acclimated through the first year and get it on the second year. We got a lot of coaches out there this year that's on their second year acclimating good systems that could do some damage in the long run. Now, they're bringing back 6 on offense, 7 on defense. Of course, we got Cam Akers at the running back spot. We got a wide receiver, a tight end, a left guard, and also a right guard. So with that being said, that's kind of an even spread right there for a second-year coach to come in, even though the quarterback thing is going to weigh a lot. But if James Blackman steps up in this one, we could have some trouble out of Florida State this year. So our final analysis on Florida State right here, BigRagoo, 5-7 last year. How many wins you think they get in this year?
At least 7. I think I'm going to give them 8, maybe 9 if they get real lucky. The only thing that's favorable for them compared to last year is the schedule is a little lighter than it was last year, so that's going to be in their favor as far as the scheduling goes. The bad look for them was totally on the offensive side of the ball. So if they clean things up on the offensive line, establish some blocks, run some clean plays, sustain some drives, which they were like absolutely towards the bottom of the league. I think they're like 124th out of 130. So if you look at their matrix on their starting positions and where they finished up on drives, was horrific. But I think definitely room for improvement without a question. Will they get back to the FSU of old? That remains to be seen, but definitely a step forward, and hopefully they can get 8 games. 9 would be nice. 8, I'd be happy. 9, I'd be ecstatic.
Well, I have to say they'll be happy if they get 7, even though the schedule may appear to be a little watered down. They opened up against Louisiana Monroe. They're at Virginia, who could be a good team this year. They get to fly past Louisville, but then they have this little stretch right here, BigRagoo. I think this might be a pretty tough stretch. They go see, they play NC State at home, at Clemson, at Wake Forest, Syracuse at home, then Miami, and then at Boston College. That's a pretty rough road to go out of there. They got to hope to get at least 3 of those to go anywhere near 8. So I'm going to give them a solid 7 this year for Florida State. That's my take on it. You heard it from BigRagoo. Florida State Seminoles, College Football 2019, the Boss and the Sauce Show. There it is there. Right back at you again, the Boss and the Sauce, ACC College Football. This one is Louisville Cardinals on this one. Now, Scott Satterfield, it's his first year coach over here. He's going to be inheriting a nice team this year. He gets 7 on offense, 8 on defense. On offense, he's getting a QB, a running back, 2 wide receivers, a left tackle, and a center. Now, with a tackle and a center, some wide receivers and running backs, you should be able to produce more offense this year. Last year, the offense totaled 352 yards averaging a game, but they gave up 483 yards on defense. Now, on defense, they returned 2 D linemen, 3 linebackers, a quarterback, and a safety. I say they should at least be able to pull that 483 that they're giving up yards a game somewhere down to about 400, 410 if they're going to have a good year on this one. Now, an interesting fact about this team is C.T.J. McCoy, a Florida graduate transfer, will fill a major hole for the Cardinals. He started 9 games in 2017 before injuring himself at Florida. He played sparingly last season, but at 6'1", 305, could be a major addition to the Cardinals. So they got a graduate transfer coming over. I thought that you guys want to know that information, and I got that information right here out of Lindsay Sports Magazine. Now, BigRagoo, what is your take on this Louisville team this year?
This is definitely a rebuild mode team with the new coach coming in. He's a 10-year guy, well coached. He was at Appalachian State. We all know what he did there. But if you have to look at the numbers on Louisville, even though they have all these returning starters, they were not that good last year. Maybe he can squeeze a little more talent out of them this year because they were dead last in the conference in offense and dead last in the conference on defense. They were giving up like you gave the numbers out, so we know what those numbers are. But I mean, there are some bright spots on the team, without doubt. They're just going to have to kind of work their way through some things schedule wise. They start off against your team, Notre Dame, so that's going to be a tough spot for them right out the gate. But there's a lot of upside to the team. The good thing about Louisville is recruiting wise, in the past, they've always done well getting kids out of Florida. So they're taking these kids that didn't sign with the major universities of Florida. And whenever they match up with these guys, and like they play Florida State every year, that's a game that I always have circled to look out for this team, because those are all kids that they played school together, and they got a chip on their shoulder when they play the top recruits versus the two recruits, 2-star, 3-star versus the 4 and 5. So not that they're any less talent, they just didn't show out as far as when the grading. They all play ball together, and it's usually a tough look for them to match up with them on the field. So I think Louisville is going to have some issues, trying to get the product on the field together the first go round. But I look for them to get better as the season goes on.
Y'all heard that from my man BigRagoo. Now, when I was breaking this team down right here and I was going through it, I was totally optimistic with all the tools coming back. I looked into the background of the coach a little bit over at Appalachian State. He looks good, but I do see a lot of flaws there. One is, to me, Appalachian State is a team that takes advantage of a lot of other teams because of the position that they play in, kind of like the Rockies and the Broncos and the NFL, that, they play so high up in the mountains. Sometimes they have a slight advantage before the game even starts just on that. So that doesn't mean necessarily that his coaching is as good as it is on paper, but he did do a good job over there. He's over here now at Louisville, and it seemed like this Louisville team just hasn't been able to put it together after Lamar Jackson gone. And when you think about it, Lamar Jackson had a bad year his last year. They were crumbling apart at that point in time. So after a 2-10 season like last year, I really expected them to do a lot better this year. But when you look at the schedule, how do you give this team, and this is mind-boggling in the ACC. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so they always, we ACC on everything but football. But I don't know how, this is probably one of the reasons why we're not, because we take pride in scheduling good teams against us because we want to play the best. Now, we went over the Clemson schedule earlier. Now, how is the defending champions coming back with a schedule like they got? And these guys went 2-10 last year, and they start off playing Notre Dame. They get a break with Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. They can play a streaky Florida State at Florida State. Then they play Boston College. Then they got at Wake Forest. Then they got to see Clemson, Virginia, at Miami, at NC State, who's going to be a shocking team this year, and Syracuse. And then they finish at Kentucky. I mean, how do they get to play these tough games? And they should trade schedules easy. It should be an easy call to trade schedules with Clemson on this one. But I don't call for too much more winning out of this. If they get 3 to 4 wins, they'll be doing very good this year in this guy's first year. And let's hope Louisville gets it together in the future. It was fun the one year when Lamar Jackson was running all over the place, and he made a statement over there for the SEC. And even in that year in the SEC, was a lot of other teams that were kind of streaky that year too. You had North Carolina, you had Duke, you had a lot of teams playing up. But ACC is kind of down after last year with teams playing up throughout the whole conference. And this team right here is another team that's going to play down this year. And I'm fading Louisville again. We'll see how far that takes me. Any last words on Louisville, BigRagoo?
Yeah, like I said, they're rebuild mode right now, and that is one heck of a schedule they have to play. I mean, they better have a lot of Band-Aids and first aid kits with them because they're going to need them late in the season. They're going to be beat up. But, I mean, just hopefully they stay healthy, and Satterfield kind of implements his way and gets his recruiting program on track. And good things are on the horizon for Louisville because, like I said, there's a lot of talent from the region that they come out of, and this year is probably not going to be the year for that, but hopefully they can, keep their morale together and compete on the field.
Absolutely. Y'all heard it here, right here on the Boston Sauce. Let's move over to the next team. Let's move on over to Raleigh, North Carolina, and let's go see NC State Wolfpack on this one. Now, the Wolfpack is coming back from a 9-4 season. It's a nice season, but they did get blown out in the Gator Bowl to Texas A&M. Now, the coach over here, Dave, he's in his 6th year. This year he gets back 4 on offense, and he gets back 6 on defense. Now, he's struggling big time on offense. He doesn't get back a quarterback or a running back, but he gets back his wide receiver, a tight end, a right guard, and a right tackle. So there's a lot of work to do on offense, but you got to be optimistic, especially in these Carolina states, Florida states, where these young kids are fast and they can go get some JUCO players and all that kind of stuff that can come in and fill those shoes. So this team is going to be definitely on the watch list for how it pans out with the quarterback situation right there. Having a right guard and the right tackle, at least you can run on one side, so they may be able to do something on the running game. Now, on defense, they get back a defensive tackle, a defensive end, a linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and a safety. Now, that's what you need nowadays. Most teams are so pass heavy, you got to have a decent secondary to start the defense. Secondary and your defensive line to put some pressure on the passing game. And that's a recipe for success. Now, this team does have a pretty peculiar schedule this year, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, let me holler at my man BigRagoo over there and see what's his take on NC State.
NC State is a team that overachieves. Not that they're not talented; they're definitely talented. You got to give Coach Doran a lot of credit for putting the product that he does on the field. I mean, last year, or the past 2 years, they churned out over 13 players to the draft. So that speaks volumes in itself. So they just keep putting these players in the draft and they keep producing on the field. Now, they're not at the same level as a Clemson or a Florida State. They're just a tad beneath, but they are a very competitive squad. They were a little weak on the against the run last year. Their strength is in the defense, like you said. They did lose some key guys in the draft on the defensive line, but they stepped it up on the defensive pass. So if they can apply a little pressure up front and help that secondary out a little bit more, they might take a little bit of an improvement on the defensive side. I mean, as far as numbers go, offensively they were ranked 4th in the conference, and I think defense they were like right in the middle, around 7th. So, I mean, it's a team that I'm very interested in for playing up in these bigger games. Maybe as a dog type player or dog team, getting some points and looking at some spots to compete against the bigger name schools and overachieve a little bit more this year. So I like the way the team looks. I think they got the talent. They definitely have the coaching, and look for them to compete hard every time they get on the field.
Well, speaking of that defensive line, BigRagoo, looks like they recruited top newcomer defensive tackle Joshua Harris. He's a 4-star freshman, and he enrolled early around there. The guy's 6'2", 320 pounds. So maybe he could take that ranked 100th in rushing defense, who was giving up about 142 yards on the ground per game, and he can slim that down some. Maybe if he gets it down even to an even 100 yards, then they're in business over there on defense. And also, with this NC State team, the schedule over here is set up pretty nicely for them. They're going to come out, and they could go an easy 4-0 with some good play. They come out to East Carolina, Western Carolina, then they go to West Virginia, then they have Ball State. That's 4 games right there, absolutely winnable. They can come out 4-0, but then they got to see Florida State, and if things don't pan out of there, they could be 5-0. They're going to take an L to Syracuse. Then it's going to be a toss-up to see where Boston College is at around October 19th. That who knows what happened in that Boston College game. Then they got Wake Forest, which they probably take a loss in that one, probably in the late in that game. And then you got Clemson, they'll take a loss. And then they get Louisville, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina to end the season. 9-4, I don't think so. But a solid 7, maybe 8 games, we might be talking that with NC State. What you think, BigRagoo?
Yeah, I see them playing a bowl game probably like mid to late December. You know, they'll definitely get their W's. And like I say, they're a well coached team. They recruit pretty decent, and if they can shore up that defense just a little bit more and kind of give their offense some more opportunities. You know, get them out on the field. You know, they're probably looking at a 500 ball club, maybe. You know, like you said, maybe 8 wins, 7 wins, 7-5, 8-4, maybe, but 7-5, I would think would be a good look for this team.
Well, there it is there, and I'm going to give us some homework. I didn't say you, I said us. I'm going to give us some homework. We really need to dig deep on this team and look at that quarterback situation. Maybe see if you can go online and find some film from the spring game or any of the practices and see what it's probably a quarterback battle over there. And you got to see where that quarterback battle is at, because that's the offense is gonna lead them to victory. And this with a offense coming back like that, the ship can sink too. So got to do a little extra work on this one. Look deep into the quarterback and running back situation. Try to get some visuals and see just how good these guys are. Any last words on NC State, BigRagoo?
Yeah, the quarterbacks are really young. You know, we got Matthew McKay is a sophomore, and you got a freshman quarterback, Devin Leary. So, yeah, definitely have to do some game time film watch on these guys and see, you know, read some of the scouting reports and just keep a close eye on how they perform and what their running game is like and how they handle the passing game and how they handle different scenarios on the field. So definitely have to do our homework on these guys.
But there it is there. You heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Who's up next? Yes, sir. Back at it. Another ACC college football 2019 preview. This time we're looking at the Syracuse Orangemen. Now, Coach Dino Barbers, he's in his third year. This is his fourth year here, but he's coached 3 years here already. And this year, he gets back 6 on offense, 7 on defense. That's manageable. And he's coming off a 10-3 season last year, which his only losses was to Clemson, at Clemson, Pittsburgh right after that, at Pittsburgh, and that went to overtime. And then he also lost to the good old Fighting Irish 36-3. But one thing I must say about the Syracuse team, especially being a Notre Dame fan and seeing them for a long time, they really take advantage of playing on that AstroTurf. When they play on that AstroTurf, they're one of those teams that can play fast on that AstroTurf. And if you're not ready to come play fast, then they'll definitely get ahead in the first half, and you'll have a tough time beating them in the second half. Now, notable standout newcomer right here is offensive tackle Ryan Alexander. He's a Sun Belt All-American honorable mention last fall, and he's expected to arrive over the summer as a graduate transfer from South Alabama. He'll step into one of the starting tackle vacancies, a critical addition considering the departure of the 3 starters and the transition to Tommy DeVito, a pocket passer. Now, they do return just the running back, 2 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers, a right tackle, and a right guard. And obviously they got a little faith in Tommy DeVito, but that is a questionable mark on the Syracuse offense. But the type of offense that they run, kind of like a spread offense where the quarterback can actually run or pass, and it's a fast offense. As long as you recruit the right player, they'll fit right into the system and do pretty well. What you think about this Syracuse Orangemen, BigRagoo?
Syracuse has got a lot of little quirky elements to this team that put them in the position they are today. Number one, this is real interesting, their field position. They were ranked number 2 nationally on offense. And reason being, it kind of ties in with the defense because their turnover margin ranks 5th in the country. So the defense kind of put the offense in a lot of good positions. Plus their special teams, they got 2 kickers. Both are nationally recognized. One was a Lou Groza Award winner. Their punting unit and their field goal kicking unit are award winners. And they're a real gritty team that really, does a great job on defense. Tommy DeVito's taking over the helm this year. Eric Dungy is no longer. I remember one game last year, Dungy went down and DeVito came in off the bench as a true freshman. And I thought, they were going to be in big trouble. Man, this kid really got on the field and did a heck of a job. So they've got a lot of good looks, a lot of weapons, a lot of different special team plays. They play up. They're well coached. They're going to be ranked number 2 on the prediction scale for the ACC and the Atlantic Division, and it's for a reason. This team is not a fluke. Like you said, they're fast on the AstroTurf. They have a lot of good skilled players and well coached team. I like this team a lot. This is going to be a team that I'm going to be following very heavily going into the season, deep into the season. And you'll see this team. Don't be surprised if you don't see this team playing on New Year's Day in the bowl season.
Absolutely, BigRagoo. Well, let's take a look at their schedule. Now, they took a note out of Clemson book, and they open up at Liberty. That should be money in the bank for them. Then they play a team which is in some down years, but they're always up and down. They're at Maryland. Then they go ahead and get Clemson out of the way early, which they jumped on Clemson a little bit last year, so ain't no telling this year what can happen in this one. Clemson at Clemson barely slid by a field goal on by 4 points on Syracuse last year. So then after that's all over with, they see Western Michigan, Holy Cross, this NC State team that could be a little bit okay at NC State, Pittsburgh, Florida State, Boston College, Duke, Louisville, and Wake Forest. All doable games for this team. Like I said, they take advantage of the elements, and some of these teams, they're going to run off the field at home, and they may struggle a little bit on the grass sometimes, but this is definitely one of those speed teams on the turf, and you got to stay focused with them with that. Now, as far as last year's stats, they look wonderful. They averaged 40 points a game. They gave up 27 points a game. Now, if they could put a twist on giving up 27 and take it down to maybe 22 or 24, that also makes all those games in the conference definitely winnable games. And I'm with you on this one, BigRagoo. I see another 10-2 season out of Syracuse right here, and I'm going to give them the go-ahead, but we're going to keep an eye on that one. Any words on Syracuse?
Yeah, just a few short ones. You talk about how tough they played Clemson last year. They come down to like a field goal type game. Don't forget, they also beat Clemson the year before in Syracuse. So this team seems like they keep zeroing in on Clemson year after year. So that's probably a game that they're going to have circled again. And if they beat Clemson, then game on for this team.
Well, there it is there. We're going to keep it quick and concise right here. That's it for the Syracuse Orangemen. Off to the next team we go. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show. And we keep going and going and going because we love this college football stuff. Back in the ACC College Football 2019 preview. And we're looking at Wake Forest this time. I don't think I know not one Wake Forest fan in the world. But let's take a look at them. We got Dave Clawson, longtime coach over here at this one. He gets back 5 on offense, 4 on defense. On offense, he gets back a quarterback and Sam Hartman. He gets a wide receiver to throw the ball to. He also gets a tight end to catch the touchdown pass. And he gets a right guard and a right tackle that can block on the right side. Maybe they can get something going on offense. Now on defense, he gets a defensive end, 1 linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and that's it for the defense. So they got a lot of work to do in this one. They definitely be relying on how good they recruited over the past few years for these players to step in these spots and do well. Now, Wake Forest is one of those teams that I seldomly bet on or bet against because they so volatile. It's like they wake up sometimes and they play like this A1 team, and then sometimes they can really SHIT to bed. But last year, they went 7-6 overall. They lost to Notre Dame, of course, Boston College, Clemson and Florida State, at Florida State, Syracuse, and Pittsburgh. But they did win the bowl game versus Memphis by a field goal. So this team doesn't do pretty good with top-tier talent in those games, and I expect probably the same thing to happen this year What you think about this team over here in Wake Forest, BigRagoo?
Wake is it's kind of like a Vanderbilt of the ACC. They get a lot of smart kids. You know, Wake, Duke, those are all sharp-minded kids. So they're not there on athletic scholarships. They're mainly academics. But, you know, good thing about that is they understand what the hell the coach is telling them to do. So whether they can execute it is another story. But the thing that Wake does pretty well is they run an up-tempo offense. You talked about Hartman being the quarterback. He's more of a passer. Then they got a guy that kind of fills in the slot to kind of pick up his slack. But they do run that 2-quarterback system. And, you know, they're a very mediocre squad. On the turnover side, you know, they're ranked like 104 in the country out of 130. And then the offense is ranked like 106. So they're not creating a lot of offense, and they're not creating a lot of turnovers. They're going to be a bottom-tier team. And I'm not going to probably look at them a whole lot as far as when the opportunities come up to try to cap them out, unless they're playing like a really soft team, or they're going to be playing a powerhouse and there may be fade material for me there. But not a lot to look at on both sides of the ball here. Just a real run-of-the-mill, below-average team.
There it is there. I kind of like that look, too. They opened up against Utah State. Utah State's doing big things over there in the Mountain West. I think Utah State could pull that one off. So they're starting off with trouble. But if they get past that, they get to see Rice, North Carolina, Elon, then Boston College, Louisville, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Clemson back-to-back, Duke in the middle, and last game at Syracuse. So they got their work cut out for them. I see 4 definite losses on this team, and definitely quite a few more losses in between, with Florida State that's on the rebuild, Boston College, who can do well this year, and NC State, who we don't know we're going to get out of them. I say they probably only win 4 out of those games. I'm looking at another 7-6 season, looking at these Wake Forest Demon Deacons. What you think about them?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, 7-6, 7-5, you know, that's still a winning season. I mean, not that I'm saying they're mediocre, because they are probably mediocre at best. But I mean, if you look at the wins that they had last year, they did beat Louisville, which they had a down year. They beat NC State, pretty good squad there. They beat Memphis. Now, Memphis, you know, they're a high-power offense. They don't play a lot of defense, but, you know, high-power offense. So they're a tricky team that they kind of like sneak up on you. So with a lot of it goes into the coaching prep that's going to play this team. Maybe it's because of sketch teams when they're sleeping a little bit, and those are the games they go out and win or perform well in. But it's still going to have that same look for me. I'm just not going to be really high up on this squad to play on, maybe more play against.
Yeah, definitely a team to keep your money in your pocket. Last year they averaged 32.8 points on offense, ranked number 34 in the league. But they defense gave up 33.3 points a game, and they were ranked 102. It's like pouring water in a bucket with a hole in it. Never just going to get it right. This is the type of team you try to stay away from. If you do ever take them by double digits. You know, as a double-digit dog, you might have some money there. But for the most part, stay away from Wake Forest, the Demons, and the Deacons. This is the Boston Sauce Show. We out of here. Y'all. We had a lot of fun on this one. There's a whole lot of work on this conference. 7 teams on both sides. The ACC, Coastal Division, and the Atlantic Division. It was wonderful, BigRagoo. I had fun doing it. Always a pleasure working with you. But let's break down into one of our things we do here on the Boss and the Sauce Show, which is First Thought. So that means I'm going to list some of the best games in the ACC for the year here, and my man BigRagoo, he's going to give me his first thought on that game. August 29th, right out the box. Georgia Tech at Clemson. First thought?
Cakewalk, Clemson.
August 31st, Virginia at Pittsburgh. First thought?
You and I both talked about Pittsburgh as a sleeper team, maybe sneaking up the ladder to maybe compete for the championship on that side of the division, going against Virginia, which we also like them, and Virginia Tech. This could be a game where Pittsburgh might upset Virginia.
Texas A&M, September 17th at Clemson.
Two teams that are taking an early test on the battle on either side. Either way, I think Clemson is probably going to come out on top. But A&M is going to try themselves early, and Clemson is going to be up to the task. I think Clemson is going to squeeze this one out.
All I gotta say is toughest competition for Clemson for the whole season in that one game right there early on September 7th. Also going down on September 7th, Miami sees North Carolina on Chapel Hill. What you think about that?
Yeah, you got two first-year coaches going at each other, two first-year in the program coaches, North Carolina and Miami. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both teams are probably not going to try to make a mistake. They're probably young in the season. Look for a defensive style game, maybe a good under the total game.
Now this might be Clemson's second and the second only game that's big on their schedule, and that's Clemson at Syracuse.
All right. Remember last time they played at Syracuse, Clemson got beat by Syracuse at Syracuse. And the last time they played last year, it almost went to overtime. Clemson closed that game out in Death Valley. So look for another close game here, and Syracuse might pull the upset. We'll never know. We'll find out on September 14th.
I think this might be one of those spots right here where because of the recency bias, you might catch some value by taking Clemson in that one against that Syracuse team. Even though it's going to be on the turf over there and that Syracuse team is fast, Clemson, they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to be frustrated from the loss a few years ago and almost losing last year, and they might try to put their foot up their behind real quick. But let's jump over to September 14th, Pittsburgh at Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. That's a battle of Pennsylvania. So it's like a rival game early in the season. I'm going to roll with I'm going to take the Big Ten in this game. I'm going to take Penn State. They're a pretty disciplined team. We didn't talk about them yet, but we will. I like Penn State in this game.
I like that too. Now, October 5th, this is a very interesting game for me. My first thought on this game would be break out the chair and all the things that you love to sit back and watch the game, because this one's going to be a good one. October 5th, Virginia Tech at Miami.
That's going to be another barn burner. You got two teams that they combined are 8-8 in league play, so they kind of splitting the load there. It's going to be, again, you got a team that's kind of underperforming on defense and a team that's overperforming on defense. So give me the better defense. I'll take Miami at home in that game.
Now, being that you are our FSU spokesperson, what you got to say about October 12th, Clemson and Florida State?
It's going to be a long day for FSU in Death Valley on that day. So Clemson will probably get the job done. Maybe a little better effort this go around for FSU, but they're not going to be up to the task quite yet.
Okay, November 29th, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Virginia Tech at Virginia. First thought.
Championship game for the ACC Coastal. Depending on who comes off of that game prior to, two healthy teams, all things being equal, I'm probably going to lean Virginia in this game.
Okay, and we have on November 30th, Florida State at Florida. How is the Florida State versus Florida rival going to go?
All right, this game has got a whole different look than Clemson and Florida State. These are the battle of the kids that played ball together in school. Florida State has always come out a little bit better in the series as a whole. Florida has had their offensive struggles. They're probably fixed defensively a little bit better than Florida State. I think it's going to come down to execution on offense. So depending on where they're both at, they both have struggled. Florida a little bit better. I'm going to lean Florida and in the swamp on that one.
There it is there. Now, that's it for first thought. Let's go over into your watches for the year. What do you feel in the ACC should be some good watches for the year?
A good watch is, I think, the value team on the Atlantic side. I'm looking at the NC State Wolfpack to kind of take a step forward, maybe leapfrog Florida State even, probably be like that third best team in that division. And my top two teams are going to be Clemson and Syracuse.
Well,
and then on the other side, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say I'm right with you right there. I definitely say watch Syracuse this year. They were very sneaky last year. They played up in some good games. They gave Notre Dame a run for their money at the first half, but they went the distance with Clemson. Syracuse is definitely watch team in the ACC. I also like I like NC State as a watch team as well, but I'm more interested in watching Florida State. You may be a fan, you may be a little down, but I think that Florida State can get it together this year. The door is wide open. All they have to do is beat out Syracuse because they're not going to get the number one spot with Clemson, but they can make it to a bowl game this year. And also on the coastal side of things, I like to definitely keep my eye on Miami. I'm high on Miami, and I'm very high on Virginia Tech, just as they have it in the Lindy magazine right here at 1 and 2. And I also like a look out for Pittsburgh and Virginia. Both of those teams are at the success. Well, I know Virginia's at the success of the quarterback, and the Virginia Tech is going to be at the success of their defense. So I like those as watches, and also I like to watch how the spread offense is going to work out for Georgia Tech. Any other watches for you on the ACC, BigRagoo?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the Panthers also as a sleeper team, and then I'm gonna probably be looking at Virginia as the ACC Coastal champ in that one.
So being that, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up after this. Being that this conference is 7 teams on each side, let's give them our top 3 on each side. Make it a little interesting. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. You keep going with it.
Okay, so on the Atlantic side, I definitely got Clemson at the number 1 spot. I like Syracuse in the number 2 spot. And I'm going with Florida State in the number 3 spot, just as they have it right here in the Lindsay magazine. And on the coastal side of things, I'm not sure about Miami at the number 1. I like Virginia Tech at the number 1 spot. I like Miami at the number 2 spot. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Pittsburgh in the number 3 spot over there in the coastal side of the ACC. How about you, BigRagoo?
Well, it's good to disagree, my man, because I'm going to flip the Virginias on you. I'm going to take Virginia in the number 1 spot, and I'm going to leapfrog Pittsburgh all the way up to number 2, and I'm going to slide Miami right behind them, and I'm going to take the Hokies and do the hokey pokey and slide them right off the scale. I'm going to go Virginia, Pittsburgh, and Miami.
Awesome, man. So what about over in the Atlantic Division? How you got it lined up?
Okay, Atlantic Division, Clemson. Clemson, I got them going all the way. Then I'm going to slide Syracuse up there, and I'm going to put the Wolfpack as my sleeper team, number 3, and then FSU, number 4.
There it is right there. You heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Stay tuned for the next conference breakdowns. I'm sure y'all loving it. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the energy up here. And any last words for the people there, BigRagoo?
Can't wait to see you guys for the next one. Stay tuned.
And I'll see you at the window.
And I'll see you at the window.
Nah, I'll see you at the window.